Hello, I know we are about to talk about something that everybody's talking about. So, first and foremost, welcome back. And initially, I said I wasn't going to come out and talk about this. Looks like everybody else is doing an amazing job at it. There are so many mixed opinions about the slap heard around the world. Nevertheless, I decided to come after really thinking about it. I decided to come out and just kind of give you my thoughts on it or what have you. So, as you guys come in, do me a favor, make sure that you like and share. I don't plan on being on here very long tonight because I've already done quite a few videos with you guys, and I think that you guys are pretty satisfied for the next few days. But again, this is something that you said I've been waiting for this all day. I know. And like I said, it was a struggle because I was like, do I really want to come out and talk about this? And initially, earlier, I decided, I think I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to kind of let that blow over. And then, yeah, it's something that I thought about time and time again. So this is something that's really important. I'm going to give you guys my take on it, and I'm going to talk about it from a different perspective. I'm going to give you a little bit of my history dealing with narcissists or what have you. And we're going to talk a little bit about narcissism, but the big question. So let me say this. I happened to go on to TikTok today, and obviously TikTok is buzzing with this stuff. It's just overflowing with it. I'm just like, okay, there we go again. There we go again. But somebody made a comment about her being a narcissist, and I had a moment where I actually, and that's when I decided to come out and teach because I started thinking about it, and I was like, the traits of a narcissist. And then I started thinking about the August incident, and I started thinking about a lot of things, and I actually started delving back into my history with the narcissist, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to come out and I'm going to talk with you guys, but this is just small talk. As you guys begin to enter the room, make sure that you like and share. Like I said, I don't plan on being, you guys, we're going to be watching videos and stuff like that, and I'm going to build my case, and then I'm going to let you guys go. It is going to, I be on, then I'm going to let you guys. So I'm always on TikTok scrolling. I take a break every day, and that's the first thing. And I think it's just a variety for me, so it's a variety of videos I can scroll and wow, that was deep. Hallelujah. Oh, what have you. But then I get tangled up with, when you're scrolling by and that music, and I'm like, don't want that stuff in my head. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to jump into it. You guys are aware of what happened on yesterday. I happened to see it this morning. I was actually getting ready to go to bed when I saw it, and I had a thought. I asked myself, like, do I really want to come out and talk about this? Because everybody's going to be talking about this or what have you. And like I said, I had decided against it. And I went ahead and went on to bed. I researched it because I happened to go on Instagram, and I saw a post up about it. And I said, what happened? And I came to YouTube and I happened to see the Oscars and stuff like that. And I saw the slap and I said, oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay. So here's my thoughts on this. First and foremost, I'm going to read some articles to you. I want to read an article to you about narcissistic personality disorder. And I want you to understand, if you've never been to my channel before, that this is a Christian channel. I talk about demons. Okay. I talk about relationships. I talk about a lot of different things. And I'm saying it to say that I'm going to give you some demonology behind this. I'm going to help you to understand this from a different perspective. That's why I called it a different perspective. So I'm reading an article from this article. I'm going to read is from Cleveland Clinic, and it's called Narcissistic Personality Disorder. I thought it was really interesting, which is why I decided to come out and read it. Okay. The header, what is a narcissist? A narcissist is a common catchphrase describing someone who acts self-absorbed or vain. What many people don't know is that narcissism or narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, is actually a serious condition. If you have a NPD diagnosis, others may see you as only concerned about your wants and needs or having a never-ending need for compliments, but inside you may feel insecure, less than empty. Having NPD makes it hard to relate to others or have genuine self-worth. It can affect relationships with your family, friends, and coworkers. How common is narcissistic personality disorder? Experts estimate that up to 5% of people have NPD. Okay, that just blessed me, because in all honesty, I'm glad I'm reading the article and not trying to give you what I remember about the article and saying, hey, I read this article, what have you, because I thought when I read it, it said 50%, but it says 5%. I don't believe that. But anyhow, experts estimate that up to 5% of people have NPD. Narcissism is one of 10 personality disorders. These disorders cause people to think, feel, and behave in ways that hurt themselves or others. Signs of personality disorders usually appear in the late teen years and early adulthood. What causes narcissistic personality disorder? The exact cause of NPD is not known. It's a demon. Okay. The disorder, this is what I get for deviating. The disorder may result from a combination of factors that include childhood trauma, such as physical, sexual, and verbal abuse, early relationships with parents, friends, and relatives, genetics, family history, hypersensitivity to textures, noise, or light in childhood. That's weird. Personality and temperament. What are narcissistic traits, characteristics? Healthcare providers diagnose NPD when you have at least 5 of the following characteristics: overinflated sense of self importance, constant thoughts about being more successful, powerful, smart, loved, or attractive than others, feelings of superiority, and desire to only associate with high status people. It is not 5. I don't care what they say. It's not. They diagnose 5. Okay, let me get back in here. We'll talk about it. Feelings of superiority and only desire to associate with high status people, need for excessive admiration, sense of entitlement, willingness to take advantage of others to achieve goals, lack of understanding and consideration for other people's feelings and needs, arrogant or snobby behaviors and attitude. And I think I'm going to stop there. Okay, yeah. So this article, again, this is Cleveland Clinic, and the article is entitled Narcissistic Personality Disorder. It does not say who wrote the article, so you always got to make sure you're giving credit. So again, we've all heard the slap heard around the world. We witnessed it, and a lot of people are in shock, especially with Will Smith having such a stellar reputation, having such besides his whole August stuff, him being one of the few actors that has managed to remain blemish free. Because when you have such a long tenure in the industry, it is not easy to go without some type of incident, because their cameras are almost always on you. And so for him to have that long history, is actually relatively remarkable. So when I was watching that, the thing that I noticed, and which is what a lot of other people are pointing out, was that when Chris Rock made the joke, when he made that joke, Will Smith was laughing. He was laughing. The camera shot over to him. He was laughing. It didn't seem to be any type of problem. And then we saw Jada Smith rolling her eyes. And let me stop right here real quick, because I have to deal with this. You have to give disclaimers in the beginning. If you don't give disclaimers in the beginning, then you're going to have the narcissists themselves that are going to come out. You're going to have the religious that are going to come out and say, oh, that's the world. Why are we talking about the world? I thought this, please. Okay. Just know that if you put something silly in my comment section, I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to block you. All right. Now that we got that out the way, that's my little disclaimer. So when you have the people that think that they're going to control me, I am not controllable. I'm not that person. Okay. So you have him, he's laughing. Camera pans away from him, and it's only seconds before you see that, but you can see that Jada, she rolls her eyes and she's relatively uncomfortable or what have you. And then you see him going up there and just walks up there calm and cool, slaps him, and then just kind of, comes back to his seat or what have you. Next thing you know, you see him relatively angry. And I'm really glad, because I'm really glad this morning that I didn't feel a need. And even throughout the day, I didn't feel a need to come and talk on it. The reason I said I'm glad I didn't necessarily feel a need to come and talk on it then is because my perspective has shifted a little bit. Because initially I was thinking about something that, something, I don't want to say similar, but something that I experienced, and we'll talk about that. But just really looking at the different perspectives and looking at it a little bit deeper brought me to a different conclusion. So I'm going to start. Right. So what he did was, and this is the theory that a lot of people are having, because when that camera panned away from him, because when you saw him first, he's ha 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 ha, ha. Then the camera pans away, and the next thing you know, we see him heading up there. So 9 times out of 10, well, I mean, I think we can safely assume that he looked over and saw that his wife wasn't happy with the remark and what have you. And he felt the need to defend her honor. He felt the need to go up there. And I think it's a lot deeper than that. I don't think it's just that little incident, because honestly, that's what we call overkill. Typically, overkill is like if your child went up in there and they brushed their teeth, they used the toothpaste and they left the top off of it. Now you're trying to beat the brakes off of the child. Then there is something else there, because that didn't warrant that type of reaction. It didn't warrant that type of reaction. So the thing that I'm taking from it, first and foremost, is when he walked up there. First and foremost, let me just say this: I believe Will was slapping. Me too, right? But I believe Will was slapping all of America that has said anything, because in the last couple of years with the whole August incident, I think Will was slapping everybody. I think that for him, it's the attention, the frustration, and all of the things that come with that. And I think that that's the reason why he got up, or what have you. I don't think that lick was really meant for Chris Rock. It's just that whenever you're dealing with frustration, we find somebody to take it out on. I think that we typically find somebody to take it out on. Secondly, let's talk about this. Is Jada a narcissist? One thing I can't say definitely, but I can definitely say this. I can say she does display narcissistic traits. And one of the things I always teach is that there are degrees to narcissism. Narcissism, because there's a spectrum of narcissism. A lot of people think that narcissism is, that every narcissist is extreme. But I've met light level narcissists, and I've met some really heavy hitter narcissists. There are covert narcissists, and there's a spectrum for that. And then there are overt narcissists. There's a spectrum for that. And if you don't know about narcissism, first and foremost, it is the Jezebel spirit. And that's one of the things I love about science as it relates to, because there was a time where the church saw science as the enemy. Like that was the enemy, that was Satan, and the church tried to stay away from science. But the truth of the matter is, true science actually points to God. What Satan tried to do was he tried to take science, he tried to take facts, because facts are earthly truths. He tried to take facts, and what he tried to do was he tried to peel the truth away from them. Not only did he try to do that, what he did was he tried to take something that belonged to God and he tried to repackage it. They did that. They did that in the manufacturing industry, and they still do it to this day. So a lot of the medicine that you buy, for example, that same name brand medication, they sell or they repackage those same pills for a lot cheaper. So Walmart has their own brand, but a lot of those, I won't say Walmart's brand, but a lot of those pills are repackaged. That's what Satan does. He will take something that belongs to the kingdom of God and repackage it. Then he'll throw it off into the New Age movement. He'll throw it off into all these other things. I'll give you an example. The law of karma, not the law of karma, but the law of sowing and reaping. Satan repackaged it and called it karma. See, there is a law, and one of the things about a law is that it's absolute, which means that gravity, for example, is a law. So if I throw something up, that law institutes or instigates that it's going to come back down automatically. It's an absolute. It's going to happen. And anytime anything breaks a natural law, is considered a miracle, or it may be witchcraft. So Satan, what he does is he takes something that is a law, and what he does is he takes it and he repackages it, and then he puts it in a New Age movement. He puts it in some type of cultural, some type of witchcraft tradition. He puts it in all that. So when people start seeing that stuff where it's coming to pass, they think, oh my gosh, wow, we are the truth and what have you. And I don't know what everybody talking about. This is witchcraft. This is not witchcraft, when it truly is. And so that's what the enemy does. You saw an example of that back in the book of Exodus, I think it was, where Pharaoh's magicians were able to mimic some of the things that Moses was doing, right? So what they do is they like to utilize the laws. They like to utilize laws. And you see a lot of that in the New Age movement. And this is why right now, one of the greatest enemies of the church is not the world, it's religion. And what I mean by that, because the world gonna do what the world gonna do. They're not even a part of the church. Many of them are not interested in being a part of the church. Religion is typically, it's counterfeit. So there's a counterfeit part to, or a counterfeit extension, whereas people come in and they're like, oh, you can't talk about that, you can't say the word empath, because the new age movement is saying that. Well, and no, at the end of the day, when you're talking about somebody who identifies as an empath, then you're dealing with somebody who's a prophet or prophetic person. The Bible tells us to go out into the world and make fishers of men. So whenever I go out into the world, sometimes I have to go out into the world in language, right? So that's how a lot of witches got saved on my channel, is because I went out into the world in language. I started using language that they understood. So when they came to this channel, I was able to say to them, baby, you're not okay. You can use the word empath because it did not originate in New Age movement. It actually originated from the movie Star Trek. And then it was picked up by the world of psychology. New Age movement, a lot of their terms actually come from psychology. They just popularize them. And whenever the New Age movement gets their hands on something, what they do is that they will promote it. It becomes a buzzword. And then consequently, what they do is the New Age movement, a lot of witchcraft, they are, you got so many people in Hollywood that are witches or into witchcraft. And so they bring people under the influence. So what they do is now, when there is a word that's been popularized, then you hear a celebrity using it, and you start hearing celebrities talk about vibrations and stuff like that. So now you have a lot of people getting into it because they're under the influence of that particular celebrity. And then consequently, what the church does is shrink. That's what religion is designed to do, is to constrict the church. That's the Python spirit, constrict the church. Because when the religion hears that word, then it's automatically, okay, we had access to all of the English language, but what we're doing is we're watching the English language shrink. We're watching it. So now we can't use that word no more. Now we can't use that word no more. Now we can't use the word manifest no more. But we don't use it in the way that the world uses it. But now we're super conscious whenever we use the word manifest. Thank you, Sister Shannon. God bless you. Now we're super conscious when we use the word manifest. So now we're just like, okay, I don't want to say that. And then whenever somebody does come out and starts to pull from the world and say, hey, no, that belongs to the kingdom, then you're going to have the religious folks that come out. And what they do is they confuse the babes in Christ, because the babes in Christ don't know which one is wrong or which one is right. And unfortunately, the majority of the church are babes in Christ. I know I said a lot, but I'm just trying to help you to understand how this moves. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to say, right, people are scared of vision, but people are afraid to do a lot of stuff. People are afraid to do a lot of stuff. So I'm going to show you something that, and I'm not in any way condemning this woman. I'm not in any way coming out here to gossip and say this is the tea about her, because I don't know. My goal, my assignment is to pray for her. And you know what? I sure hate this. I sure hate it. Because I had this pulled up. And baby, it took me a while to find it. Okay, so I'm just going to say this. I can't find it because I went on her page. Because I've been on her page before. And when I was on her page, I noticed that she's into witchcraft. And she's into witchcraft. She's into a whole lot of stuff. I can't say exactly because I don't remember the word she used, so I don't want to put words in her mouth. But she's definitely into witchcraft. She's definitely into, and that is something that's relatively common. I'm going to draw this pyramid that I've drawn out for you guys 1,000 times, but I want you to understand how this thing works. And we talk about these 7 mountains of influence. And just bear with me. We're going to get into that, guys. I know y'all are here. Some people ain't here like, hey, just tell me about Will and Jada. No, I want you to understand spirituality. I want you to understand. We're going to get into that. All right. It could be a publicity stunt. That is definitely true. I thought about that as well, but we're going to say allegedly if it's not. So that's the thing. My goal is not to try to figure out which one it is. Okay. We got 7 societal mountains of influence. Now I want you to imagine every mountain has 5 levels. Everybody is down here. Y'all know I use this for relationships. This is the vision God gave me. Oh, what have you. So down here, everybody down here humping, everybody doing everything, or what have you. The people up here have the greatest amount of influence, the people at the top of the mountain. So just imagine this being any of the mountains: arts and entertainment, religion, government, family. What else is there? What else is there? Arts and media. No, arts and entertainment. Then there's media. Then there's media. Oh, so just imagine this being one of the 7 mountains. There are 5 levels or what have you. So now this is where the majority of people are. Notice at the bottom of the mountain is the biggest part of the mountain. This is the base of the mountain. Everybody down here, the majority of people down here. When a person ascends to this particular level, they have influence over people on this level, right? Okay, this is where you start getting into celebrity. Right here, you're an influencer. Right here, you start between here and here, you're more of an influencer. Then when you get here and here, you start getting into you get here influencer, high level celebrity, or what have you, here celebrity. So down here you have quite a bit of people. Now I want you to understand that the winds are higher on the top of the mountain. The winds represent the voices of people. These are people talking. So the higher you get up, the more opinion. So for example, just about a year or so ago, my YouTube channel had like 20,000 followers. It grew about over $40,000. 40,000. I got to get my language together, love. So it grew about 40,000 followers or more within that time. 20,000 is already a lot of followers, but 60, almost 70,000 is a lot of followers. Okay, it grew. When it grew, then the wind started to increase. So when it grew from 5 people to 10 people, the winds increase because you have 10 people that are watching who are speaking your voices. And I want you to imagine all of your voices coming together, the collective voices, what have you. All of your voices coming together. Those are winds. These are the winds. And this is why the Bible tells us to be rooted. And, you know, those who are not rooted, they will be carried to and fro by every wind of doctrine or what have you. So those are winds. The higher you get up, the more followers or the more voices, the more people that are going to talk about you, and the more people that are going to keep talking. So those are all these different winds. When you're here, you have to overcome. The greatest thing to overcome is rejection. If you can't get out of here, if you can't overcome rejection, you can't get out of here legally. I'm going to bless your life tonight. If you cannot overcome people rejecting you, people talking about you, people not wanting to have anything to do with you, people not supporting you, if those type of things upset you, then God can't put more on you than you can bear, because that right there shows if you got right here, you will get blown up. So the love of God will weigh you right here. The love of God will keep you here, because if you can't even bear it down here, you can't come up here. You can't come up here. So when you get here, if you're one of those people that get to, because not all people get there, the majority of people don't. If you get here, then what happens is you have these people talking about you, and you have people on this level. Those are increased wins. Then as you get here, those are increased wins. But up here, you're going to have celebrities like Will Smith, Jada Pinkett, or what have you. So you have a lot of people who are under their influence. Not everybody, just because you're down here doesn't mean you're under their influence. For example, I don't necessarily watch a lot of television. I'm not into celebrities. I don't idolize them. I don't worship them. I don't look to them for anything. So not everybody's under the influence, but they have a great measure of influence. Think alcohol, think drugs, but they have a great measure of influence. What the enemy does is, when you're here, when you try to write that book, whenever you try to do anything, the enemy is going to use a lot of pressure. Typically it's from your family. You're worried about what your family is going to say. It's from your job. He uses a lot of pressure, those small wins down there, to keep you down. The majority of people will not come out of this spectrum. The majority of people, and this is the common area, the majority of people will stay here. But as you continue to ascend, then there are more wins, but you also have more influence. So when you come up here, people on level 4 have influence over people on level 5. Not all of them, but you have a greater amount of influence because people on level 5 look up to you. Am I making sense, y'all? People on level 5 look up to you. When you get to level 3, people on level 4 look up to you. So you have a greater amount of influence of people on level 4 and people on level 5. You have a greater amount of influence on people on level 4 and people on level 5. When you get to level 2, you see So you see how that trickles down. When you get to level 1, you have a great measure of influence. You are the equivalent of a principality. And we talked about principalities on yesterday. Principalities, and I'm talking about if you are outside the will of God and you are up there, you become a principality of sort, because principalities are established on principles. And so what principalities do, they have a great measure of influence over a culture, a region, a family, over a great deal of people. And it's established by principle. So when you have a celebrity, a celebrity like Jada Smith, who has a great measure of influence, and she is not rooted in Christ, then you have all of these winds, all of these voices at down here. Because the thing is, the people up here are supposed to influence, but you also have voices from here, all of these voices that are blowing or what have you, and they're saying witchcraft, new age. They're saying all these different things. So you find the celebrity getting into that and saying what the people want to hear. They go to believing in that stuff, which causes them to bring more people under the influence or what have you. I'm saying that to say, most of the time, when you find a person who is into witchcraft, they are on the narcissistic spectrum. Most of the time, Jezebel is the narcissist, if you don't know. And this is why I say it is interesting to me, because when you study the Jezebel spirit, you get books, and I have my book Jezebel. You can go to Amazon and get that. But when you study the Jezebel spirit, and when you study the narcissist, you realize that they are one and the same. What the world calls the narcissist, or what the world of psychology calls the narcissist, and the church, we call it the Jezebel spirit. What I love about science handling that is that science found something, or science did something, it brought balance. So what I mean by that is, typically in the church, when you said Jezebel, then a lot of people back in the old days, they just thought of a woman. They thought of a woman wearing red lipstick, a woman wearing makeup, or what have you. She had on a tight red dress. If she was shapely or what have you, they thought that's Jezebel. They didn't test the spirit. They just went by what they saw. They said Jezebel. Well, in the world of narcissism, the world of psychology, said that there are more male narcissists than there are female narcissists. Isn't that interesting? There are more men who have the Jezebel spirit than there are women who have the Jezebel spirit. The world of narcissism said one thing about Jezebel that the Bible says about Jezebel. The world of narcissism says, and if you go study it, they don't apologize. They can't. They got too much pride. They don't apologize. And if they do, it's going to be some gaslighting. They're going to deflect the blame or something. Jezebel, in the Bible, God said, I gave her space to repent, but she would not. I gave her space to repent, but she would not. It's the same spirit. So when you're talking about the Jezebel spirit, you're dealing with the narcissist. When you're dealing with the Ahab spirit, you're dealing with people who are identified as empaths. But here's a shocker about the whole empath thing. When you're dealing with the empath, you're dealing with a prophet, in most cases, a prophet or a prophetic person. That's what you're dealing with. When you say empath, you're dealing with a prophet or prophetic person, because this is who Jezebel comes after. But at the same time, not everybody who is a prophet or a prophetic person has an Ahab spirit. What causes the Ahab spirit to come into a prophet or a prophetic person is when they relinquish their authority to Jezebel, typically because of fear, typically because they want to be accepted. So in the world, I want you to understand that a lot of people that get up on that mountain are Ahab by the voices of the world. They are also Ahab, so the mountain turns upside down at times, because this is what you call perversion in the world. So it turns upside down. So the people down here, when you see all of this perversion, they sitting up there, basically, they're saying, this is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I gotta have, or what have you. So that's what you have. So anyhow, I don't want to go too deep into that. I want to see, and you can tell I'm not organizing my thoughts. I got a billion things I want to share with you guys, but I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible. So what you see, like I said, I cannot say, because I don't know her personally, and I don't follow her enough to say, but I can say, looking at the interview, I looked at the interview with August, or what have you, looking at the interview and looking at the thing with Will, I do see signs that she's on the narcissistic spectrum. And if she's on the narcissistic spectrum, if she's on that particular spectrum, then I know why Will got up and did what he did. Because again, when you looked over at Will was laughing. He was ha 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 ha. But when you looked at her, she said, she was upset. In that, if you've never been with a narcissist, you're going to catch hell. So if she's a narcissist, and I'm not saying that she is, if she's a narcissist, then he would have had hell to pay when he got home had he not did anything. If he's a narcissist, let me see if I got that video still pulled up on TikTok that I was watching.
We are so grateful that we can just do our taxes from our home. They can get done in like one day.
No, okay. I gotta let this play because I'm afraid it did this before.
Very quickly, we love.
And I accidentally.
We're so grateful.
Thank you, Sister Leslie. God bless you, sis.
We are so grateful that.
Okay. Oh no, this was beautiful. I would like to do a video on that myself. So I'll say this. There was a guy on TikTok, and he said something that was interesting and true. And he was talking about why, and I think he was the one that brought up the fact that he believed she was a narcissist. But he was talking about why didn't she get up to try to stop her husband if she felt like her husband was about to do something crazy? Because that's what narcissists do. They do have what they call flying monkeys. They do have what they call flying monkeys. Flying monkeys do their bidding. Flying monkeys defend their name, defend their character, defend them, or what have you. The man made a comment. He was saying that why didn't she sit back and say, black man, this is your hour. Black man, this is all about you. Don't worry about that. But he brought a great point up. And this is what made me start really thinking. He brought up an amazing point. And this is really true. And you can study this on your own about the narcissist, is that narcissists do not like you to have your day. I got them in my family. And one of the things I had to do is I had to cut ties with a lot of them because any moment I got celebrated, they would kick off drama. It did not fit. They cannot stand the spotlight to be on you. They hate it with an undying passion. And what happens is they train you. It's subconscious, but it's subconscious training. They train you to the point where you kind of know that, okay, to give up those moments. So if you are celebrated, if it's your birthday, or you're being rewarded, you know to give them the glory, to give them the spotlight, because if you don't, you're going to get punished. They absolutely hate to see you celebrated. They hate. This is why one of the ways you can tell a narcissist is whenever it's your birthday, they act funny or they're upset. They find some type of reason to be upset with you. They find some type of reason to be the victim, but they will always take the spotlight and shine it back on themselves. There's a guy, I think on TikTok, I think his name is Lee, and I've come across his videos before. And he's a self-aware narcissist. And he talked about how whenever his wife, if it's her birthday or anything, he said it bothered him. He hated to see where she was being celebrated. He hated that. So he would have to find some type of way to bring the spotlight back to himself. So that's exactly what we saw. This was a big night for him. This was a major night for him. This was an opportunity for him to be celebrated. This was an opportunity for the spotlight to go on him. But for whatever reason, it was directed right back to her because Chris Rock made a joke. Period, point blank. It's just a joke. Whether it was wrong or right for him to hit them, that is subjective to the world that you come from, the world that you're submitted to. If you're submitted to the kingdom of God, that's not right. That's not, the Bible tells us that's not right. You're supposed to hey, let it go. Vengeance belongs to the Lord. If you are a part of the animalistic kingdom of the world, then yes, of course, then you have to go and defend and you got to do this because what you're trying to do is maintain your credibility. You're trying to maintain this and you're trying to maintain that. Right. And so in that, like I said, you see that moment where she's laughing. I mean, he's laughing, but you also see her, really upset and what have you. And then you see him feel the need to get up right after that, after we see her rolling her eyes or what have you. But in that moment, this is what makes me think that she potentially is a narcissist. In that moment, he felt the need to give the spotlight back to her. He felt the need to go and defend her. It was no longer an Oscar show for him. It became about her and her alopecia. Because all our honesty, alopecia, I'm thinking when they said she was sick, I was thinking that maybe there was something terminal, but this is not something terminal. This is just something that it's not to discount that. It's not to say that, that's not something, especially considering the fact that she's in the spotlight. But he felt the need, and that was an offering. That's what you call an offering. He felt the need to give her back the spotlight. He felt the need to take that moment and basically offer it up to him. This is the most important night of his life. This is a major event, and he felt the need to give it back to her. Now, another thing that makes me think, and like I said, I can't say for a fact that she's a narcissist. Like I said, I saw on her page, I actually pulled up a video where they were practicing witchcraft or what have you. But when you're dealing with a witch, when you're dealing with anybody that practices witchcraft, they are on the narcissistic spectrum. I'm gonna tell you something right now. They are on the narcissistic spectrum. They typically have a Jezebel spirit, so you cannot just cast witchcraft out of them. For the most part, you're gonna have to cast Jezebel out of there as well. Anytime you come in contact with witchcraft and control, 9 times out of 10, 9.8 times out of 10, you're gonna have to cast out Jezebel as well. Jezebel is what makes the person want to get into witchcraft, want to be in control of other people. That's what that is about. Okay, so what was I saying? Sorry, I got a little distracted over here. What was I saying? He felt the need to give that moment back to her. He felt the need to give her honor in that moment, which is an indicator that she may have had the Jezebel spirit. And again, I saw on her channel that she had gotten into witchcraft, which means that 9 times out of 10, she's on the narcissistic spectrum. But the most damning evidence for me is, it was 2 things. And I'm going to see if I can find them for you guys. If I can't, forgive me. I'm trying to see which one, because I had the video pulled up. I got them pulled up. I'm looking at it. I'm trying to find out which one was it, so I don't end up playing somebody else's commentary.
As promised, Jada Pinkett Smith brought herself to the red table, and surprisingly, her husband Will Smith joined her. They talked about pain, situation that I considered private.
I just feel like it ain't really nobody's business. Yeah. But now Black Twitter has claimed it as their business.
During the 12-minute Red Table Talk episode, Jada sat down with Will to explain how she met August 4.5 years ago. But the friendship didn't turn into something more until she and Will were ready to call it quits. You and I were going through a very difficult time.
Yeah.
And we decided...
I was done with your ass.
Yeah, you kicked me to the curb.
Okay, let me explain this. Let me explain this moment here. If you've ever been with a narcissist, what happens in a situation like this, and many of you on here if you have extensive times with narcissists, there's a great deal of healing that you have to do. Because one of the things, once you discern that somebody's a narcissist, you got to get out of there quick, fast, and in a hurry. But there's a great deal of healing that you have to do. But narcissists, believe it or not, they actually tame you. Actually, the thing that causes narcissists to get away from you is when you don't submit to them, when you keep saying no and you hold on to your authority. The only way a narcissist can occupy space in your life is if you relinquish your authority to them. And no if and a but about it. You have to relinquish your authority. They have to have the ability to control you. They have to have the ability to control you. So in this moment, you can tell they're husband and wife. They've had a conversation before this, right? In this moment, he feels the need, or she feels the need to go straight into gaslighting. And they're trying to make it look like, okay, we're united. And he was like, I was done with you. So they're trying to explain it away like, hey, it's okay. But you can honestly look at him and see all the, I don't care. You can look at him and see that. You can look at him. When I put this back up, look at his face. You can see the hurt in his face. And one of the things I wanted to bring out is that this is what typically happens. I've counseled a lot of people, even men who were married to narcissistic women. And whenever a man is married to a narcissistic woman, most of the time, okay, first and foremost is a demon. There is no satisfying that female, period, point blank. Because there's a moment where she's going to give you everything you want. She's going to wear the lingerie. There's a moment where she's going to be the best thing you ever had in your whole wide life. And then there's a moment where she's going to start checking out because she's already got you in the spider web and you're almost like a dead spider to her. And so she's going to want something that's kicking, something that's a little bit more resistant, and something that's going to bring her a little bit more power, a little bit more influence, and a little bit more notoriety. And so typically, let's say she's a covert. She's going to go out there and she's going to paint you as an abuser. She's going to paint you as a monster, and she's going to use her softness. She's going to use her pretty face. She's going to use those things to get the sympathy of other people. Now, she go out there and start having an affair, let's say with another man. When she starts doing it, the first thing that she's going to start doing is gaslighting her husband. So she's going to start pushing his buttons because she has to justify doing things. So she talked about them breaking up. Now, narcissists, a lot of times when they're having an affair, if they find somebody they feel is worthy, they will try to create a scenario, a fight, where they can separate themselves from you so they can focus their attention on the other person. So they can focus the majority of their attention on the other person. So they will create a fight just so they can take their attention and focus. Now, if you happen to be the type of person that, if they've already broken you enough to the point where you're not questioning them, if they've broken you to the point where you're not saying anything, they're probably not going to do that. But if you're the type of person where you're like, hey, I'm not doing the cheating thing, who's that calling your phone or what have you, if they feel like they can't cheat in peace, typically they will create a scenario and they will end the relationship. And then anytime that you will find in a narcissistic relationship, and I know there are people on here who are listening who are in narcissistic relationships, and I'm preaching to your life, which is why I'm touching this, because this ain't about them. This is about you. This is about you getting free from that. But typically what narcissists do is they create, okay, give me a second. I got makeup on here. I hate that, but it is what it is. Okay. Your relationship is a spectrum. Your relationship is a spectrum. This is your spectrum. What narcissists do is they create breaks on the spectrum. We broke up here. We were fighting real crazy right here. I left you for 3 days. We broke up here. So if you stay with a narcissist for 12 years, typically what the narcissist will do, the narcissist is going to do their dirt because they're narcissists. It's a demon. There's no way to satisfy a demon. Period, point blank. It has to be cast out. You can't tame it. There's nothing you can do with that demon. But what they do is they create breaks on this spectrum. The purpose of the break is a justification. So one, it serves many purposes, but for one, it gives them the opportunity to pursue another person full time. You know, narcissists, they're into different types of people, but they love powerful people. It gives them the opportunity to pursue their new supply. But it also gives them that space to sit back and say, like if a child pops up or you find out about the other woman, they can say, this was during the time when we broke up. Did y'all catch that? I'm trying to help you to understand how this works. And y'all forgive me, like I said, my mind races a million miles an hour because I can explain them. I can break this thing down to you. But what a narcissist does is they have to create breaks on this spectrum. So you'll find in a relationship with a narcissist that you can be, I'm talking about everything going good. No problem. Holding hands, making love all the time. Y'all married, y'all good. Everything is great. All of a sudden, without warning, what's wrong with you? Nothing wrong with, well, something got to be wrong with me. You know what that's called? It's poking. It's reactive abuse. So what they're doing is because they're in a moment where they're ready to momentarily or temporarily discard you, but they don't want to get rid of you in your entirety. They're focusing on somebody else or what have you, and you're in the way. And they know that they're not going to be able to go out and focus on this person the way they want to focus, like they want to do full time. And they know they're not going to be able. And so a lot of times what they do is they will upset themselves just thinking about the fact that you're going to want to check their phone. You're going to be questioning about them coming home late. And they will cause their own selves to get upset. They'll cause themselves to become angry. So what they do is when they start acting like that, they are creating a break on the spectrum. They're creating a break on the spectrum. That break allows them to go out and do what they want to do. If they have, like I said, there is even a spectrum of narcissism. On the spectrum of narcissism, some of them are not all the way gone. And so that means that they still have a little bit of their humanity left. And the ones that have a little bit of their humanity left can actually feel a level of guilt because they're not necessarily narcissists, they are narcissistic. But if they keep going, if they don't repent, then God turns them over to a reprobate mind. When God turns them over to a reprobate mind, they become full-blown narcissists. They become full-blown narcissists. So in order for them to silence the guilt, silence the voices, all of that, to silence that, what they have to do is they create a break and they have to create a problem. So they start to rehearse in their mind some things that you did because you're a human being. When you're in a relationship, you're going to say stuff that you shouldn't have said. You're going to do stuff that you should have did. And they will drag it back up. They will vomit it back up and they'll remind you of that. They'll sit back and say, I was just thinking, or what have you. And y'all know I don't like to bring it up, but it is what it is. I was married and I had that issue with him. He was definitely a narcissist, or he was extremely narcissistic. But I remember one time we were going through that thing where everything was perfect, no problems, best friends, holding hands, all that. And then one day he comes home and he takes his key off his carrier. And I look at him, I was like, "What's up?" He said, "I think I'm gonna leave." I was like, "Why? For what? What's happening? What's going on?" He was like, "You remember that time you took your key off your key ring?" And he said, "You got upset with me and he said you took the ring off your finger or key off the king. I don't know." And I was like, "Yeah, because I'm hearing about other females. What are you talking about? That's like 3 weeks ago." He was like, "Yeah, I was thinking about that today. I was thinking about that today." So thank you, Sister Danielle. Love you, sis. I was thinking about that today. So yeah, I don't think I want to be here anymore. What was he doing? Did he leave? No. He left for a couple of hours. He was creating a break on the spectrum. So yes, when a child did pop up, that's exactly what he utilized. He will find some type of break on the spectrum. And so those breaks allow them to go back to the spectrum. So let's say the woman say she's 6 months pregnant. Typically, you will be able to find a break on that spectrum somewhere within that moment or within that time that they're able to explain it away. Oh, wow, sis. They're able to find a break where they're able to explain it away. They can say, "Hey, 7 months ago, well, no, this girl says she's 6 months, but it takes this much time. 8 months ago, but she said she's 6 months pregnant. Yeah, no, I don't think it was that long." Because around that time, we were having a whole lot of problems or what have you. But that's what narcissism, or that's what narcissists do. The problem with the narcissist is that they are all about themselves. They typically go after people in power. They're all about themselves. And so in this, let's get back to this. In this, what's happening is you find her basically, now, first and foremost, I can say this. You don't know what goes on in that house. I don't know his personality, but there's never a reason to cheat on your spouse. It's either, "Hey, we're not working," or what have you. But I can pretty much assume, I think I can safely assume 9 times out of 10, before this, she's like, "Hey, we're going on this camera. We talked about this. Don't try to embarrass me. Don't try to do this and don't try to do that." Because you can tell, for one, he's trying to maintain his face. He's trying to maintain, but you can see the hurt. You can see the shame. You can see a lot of different things going on, and you can see her still trying to maintain control of the conversation. You're going to watch this. When the moment he starts taking control of the conversation, she does behave like a narcissist. She starts twisting, because what twisting is a Leviathan spirit. I'll explain that to you shortly.
Marriages have that, though. Marriages have that.
Yeah, we broke up.
And then what did you do, Jada?
Well, I think from there, as time went on, I got into a different kind of entanglement with August. Yes, we know entanglement is vague as hell, but thankfully, Will pressed her to be more clear.
An entanglement?
Yes. Yes.
A relationship?
Yes, it was a relationship. Absolutely. We also got clarity on the misconception that Will gave August permission to sleep with his wife. The only person that could give permission in that particular circumstance is myself.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But what August was probably trying to communicate, because I could actually see how he would perceive it as permission, because we were separated amicably. Yeah. And I think he also wanted to make it clear that he's not a homewrecker. Now, if you're like us, you're probably wondering, why August? Well, we'll let Jada explain it. I just wanted to feel good. It had been so long since I felt good. And it was really a joy to just help heal somebody. Eventually, August broke things off and they had...
You saw how in that he's like, you can see the hurt in his eyes. But you also hear her say, it was a joy to help heal somebody. So she's saying by sleeping with this man that she healed him. This is where I can honestly say that 9 times out of 10, she's a narcissist. 9 times out of 10, she's a narcissist. Now, just so you know, over the course of time, if you're with a narcissist, anybody that's ever been with a narcissist knows that they will try to tame you. They're going to try to break you. The stronger you are, the more abusive they become. Because a narcissist, there's this thing called narcissistic discard, but rarely does a narcissist want to discard you. Rarely, very rarely. People who have narcissistic personality disorder or the Jezebel spirit, for the most part, they just want you to submit. They just want you to submit. Because typically, if you get to the point where if they can break your spirit, because it has happened, you will find people who've allowed Jezebel to break their spirit. If they get to the point where they can break your spirit, because I saw somebody put in the comments section, he cheats too, that they got an open relationship. Do you want to know how they have an open relationship? When you're dealing with a narcissist, this is just something that happens. If they were not popular, you will probably not hear. That would just probably be cheating. When you're dealing with a popularity, which means that there are cameras following you, you have to explain it away. You have to explain it away. You have to go ahead and, in case the paparazzi find out or anything like that, you have to explain it away. When you're dealing with a narcissist, and again, I'm not in there, I'm just speculating, and I'm telling you my history with that particular spirit and the many people that I've counseled who dealt with that spirit. I'm telling you what I've learned about Jezebel. What I've learned about that particular spirit is that I'm an influencer. I'm considered a micro influencer. God forbid I marry a man who's a narcissist. Thank you, Sister Mackenzie. God bless you, sis. Thank you. I appreciate you. If I marry a man who's a narcissist, and Lord, I plead the blood of Jesus over myself, my soul, don't let it be. But if I was to marry a narcissist who was a cheater, who wanted to cheat, or what have you, the first thing that narcissist is going to do is he's going to compete with me. He's going to want the spotlight for himself. And at the same time, he's going to try to tame me. That's the first thing that he's going to do. He's going to start working on taming me. First, he got to love bomb me, right, to get into the relationship. Because love bombing is an attack within itself. It's called romantic warfare. So the first thing that he's going to do is, right, she likely wanted the open relationship because she knew he probably wasn't. Because when a narcissist says, I want an open relationship, you can't cheat. Try to see if you want. They can say it, but they don't want that. They're saying, I want to go be with somebody else and I don't want you to leave me. Period, point blank. I don't want you to leave me. I want to go be with somebody else. I want to bust it open for somebody else. I want to do this, and then you can't leave me. That's what they're saying. But if he go out there, if something happens with the other person, then that's the thing. So when you're dealing with the narcissist, for the most part, they're always trying to get out there. So if I had a narcissist for a husband, the first thing he's going to do is start trying to break me. So at first, it's going to start off with, kind of testing the waters. And I'm not going to go into stories, but I can tell you some stuff. It starts off with testing the waters to see how far he can go. It's making comments, kind of making like an insinuation, like, if you were into threesomes or something like that, it's an insinuation. It's a test to see or what have you. If you prove yourself to be one of those folks that's like, that's not an option. We married. I don't play them type of games. I don't know who you think this is or whatever. You prove yourself to be that type of person, then a narcissist is noted. It's noted in their hearts. So then they realize they have to go a different spectrum. They got to go or a different way or what have you. So that means that they can't do things out in the open. If they realize that there's a threat of losing you, they realize they can't do things out in the open. So what they do is they're going to have to find some other type of way to go and do what they want to do. And this is why I said they start creating those breaks in the spectrum so that they can go out there and they can do what they want to do. So they'll go out there and they'll get into a relationship with another person. They'll have all these affairs. They'll start fights with you. They'll start arguments. They'll find ways to get out the house or what have you. And then if you find out what they're doing, then this is where this demon of Leviathan comes in. Leviathan is a twisting spirit. This is how the Bible explains it. It is a twisting spirit. So what Leviathan does is Leviathan takes your words and twist them. So if I'm talking to a guy, if I was married to a guy who was a narcissist, and I sat back and I made it clear, and he saw that, hey, I'm a strong woman, I don't play that, and if you go out here and cheat on me, you're gonna be an ex. And if he saw that, the first thing that's gonna do to a narcissist is it's gonna offend him, because they deal heavily with entitlement. You got to understand that when you're talking about a demon, demons don't reason like humans. Their reasoning is not non-human. So this is why narcissists have some of the most unrealistic expectations you could ever come in contact with. But in that, once he realizes that, oh, if I cheat, she's going to leave me, right then and there's a level of offense that he's going to feel, because he feels entitled. He feels like, how dare you even talk about leaving me? You ever conceptualize a thought of leaving me? I thought you said you was going to be with me forever, what have you. So then he'll start talking to me. Maybe he'll have this conversation, and many of you have had somebody have this conversation with you before. He'll look at me one day, probably have a nice little romantic moment with me, and then he'll say, I know you're going to leave me. And then you sit there, you're like, no, we made a commitment. Why would I leave you? And this typically happens before you get married. Especially, this is why you don't have sex before marriage. I know you're going to leave me. Where you get that from? Everybody. No, and you start talking about you're not going to leave, they say everybody leaves. So they get you to making covenants and contracts with them with your mouth, verbal contracts. You're opening your mouth and you're making an agreement. He said, no, I hear you. But everybody say that. Everybody say that, because he knows what he's going to do. He knows he's going to put you through some stuff or what have you. So he gets you to go and say. So when you come out, and let's say now, if I'm married to this guy, and now I'm talking different, and we start talking, and I make it clear, like, hey, you go out there and try to have an affair, it's a done deal, because I can't do no cheater. Then what's going to happen is right then and there's a level of offense that comes in, and somehow, because you got to understand, this is a spirit in this man. They don't have human reasoning. That spirit in him is going to twist. This is Leviathan. He's going to twist what I'm saying, and it's going to make it point back to him. So now he feels like a victim. So that he feels like, see there, I thought you said you weren't going to leave me. Now you're over here talking about leaving me. So now he has an attitude. I don't know why he has an attitude. Why are you acting like that? I ain't acting like nothing. I'm just tired. I'm going to go lay down. Dude, why you got a whole attitude? Like, for real. Ain't nobody got an attitude, Tiff. Dang. What happened to Babe? I'm not Babe anymore. Right then and there. Now, like I said, he's going to create breaks on the spectrum or what have you. If something happens, again, I'm a micro influencer. If something happens and it got out there and, somebody says, because, people try to do exposed videos on you and all that other stuff when they don't. But somebody go out there and they decide they're going to do an exposed video, what have you. Pictures of him out doing something. I don't think I'm that big for them to do that for me now. But I'm just saying, if I grew up on that spectrum and I got up there like that, they would show pictures and stuff like that. So the first thing that he would do is he going to work on me before we get on the camera. He going to work on me before we get on the camera. And he has to cast, first and foremost, he has to be the victim. Y'all better hear me when I say this. In that conversation, there's going to be a taming of sorts, a rehearsing. He has to be the victim. I can't be the victim. I can't, I'm going to be a villain a little bit, but he's going to be more of a victim than I am. And the other female going to be the villain. The people that's trying to put him on blast are going to be the villain as well. Everybody's going to be the villain but him. So in that, he's going to cast himself as a hero. I was just trying to help that girl. So you were in another city, going into a hotel room with a girl, holding hands. I mean, it was a bad move, and I mean, we ain't do nothing. It was just one of those things that, she had reached out to me and she was talking about, all the stuff she was going through with her children's father, all that stuff and what have you. And she had got herself a room, and, she was talking about how he had been beat up, and I went ahead and I got her a room, to get her out of that abusive situation or what have you. And I went out, I ain't tell you because I didn't want you to get mad. But I went over there and I was talking to her at this other place, and I had to take her back to her room for a reason. And she convinced me to come in. She was like, It was something up in there, and when she grabbed my hand, I just didn't let it go. I just walked into the room with her and what have you. But I didn't know all this is going to turn around, So for me, that's what messed up, because I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to help her out. He's going to be, so in this, you hear her say again, she says, look, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but she cast herself as a hero. And I'm going to see if I can pull that back just a little here, right there.
To just help heal somebody. Eventually, August broke things off, and they haven't really talked since. And
she said to help heal him. So she goes into, she is the victim, and Will goes automatically, after being trained, into the role of the villain. I was done with your A. I was done with you. That you got to understand, because a lot of people look and say nobody will go there. It's a process of taming. If you've never been with a narcissist, they tame you over time. They break you over time. They break you over the course of time. It's one decision after the other. It's one punishment after the other. And let me tell you why and how they break you. The majority of you, I won't say the majority, but a large number of you are prophetic. You may have identified yourself as an empath or what have you, but you're a prophet or a prophetic person. So that means that you're wired by God to be super sensitive. So you're super sensitive to God. The sensitivity is supposed to be to God's presence, but the enemy comes and utilizes that. He hijacks your sensitivity. So in him hijacking your sensitivity, what you find yourself feeling, for example, is you have to have really calm environments. Like when you're prophetic or you're a prophet or prophetic person, you need to have an environment that's really quiet, peaceful. You have to have peace in order for you to function, in order for you to flourish, in order for you to hear clearly from God or what have you. But the enemy understands that you are an instrument. You are an instrument, but the winds of God are supposed to blow through you. The winds of God. You praise God, you worship God, and God blows through you, and this is how you prophesy. You don't just prophesy with your mouth, you prophesy through creativity. If you're a creative person, you're a prophet or you're a prophetic person. The enemy understands your wiring better than you do. He understands that there are levels of sensitivity to you. So when you're dealing with a narcissist, the devil will always try to get a narcissist around a prophetic person, because the enemy knows that person is going to have degrees of sensitivity, especially whenever there are seasons where God is trying to visit that person. Whenever they become sensitive to his presence, then what the enemy does is he tries to make sure that he's in their hearts. This is why the Bible says, guard your heart, for out of it pours the issues of life. And a man without, what was that? Okay, I know it, but it is what it is. I know it, Lord, why can't I remember it? Okay. Then I'll be mad at myself when I find it. Okay, let me see here. It is what it is. I quote this scripture all the time, but it's fine. Okay. Like a city whose walls are broken down is a man. Where am I? I lost it. He that hath no rule over his spirit. This is Proverbs 25:28. He that hath no rule over his spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls. Your heart's supposed to be guarded. If it's not guarded, there are no walls there, so demons can easily get in. So the enemy is always trying to get prophets and prophetic people in the company or in the possession, in the captivity of Jezebel. He tries to get you under Jezebel's control, because typically prophets and prophetic people don't know they're prophets and prophetic people, because most of the time they distance themselves from the church. They were raised in religion and not in relationships. So a lot of times they have a bad taste in their mouth towards the church. And so the enemy is going to try to get them in some type of perverted environment. So a lot of times they've been abused by their parents. They've come up with a narcissistic parent. They came up in a toxic household. Something happened over the course of their childhood that broke them. And so now what the most dangerous one is a prophet or a prophetic person who is dealing with rejection and looking for love. want somebody to love them, want somebody to accept them, wanting somebody. And then that's when Jezebel comes in. Jezebel comes in and says, I'll love you. I'll protect you. I'll shield you. All you got to do is relinquish your authority to me. Now, they don't say that out loud, but that's really what they're doing. You got to relinquish your authority to me. You got to give this up to me. And so what happens is the enemy brings them into the company of Jezebel, into the possession of Jezebel. So within this house, my atmosphere is set to peace. My atmosphere is set to peace. I function well in this house. This is why I have almost 60 books. I can produce, I can mass produce, I can do a lot of things because I have peace. Now, I didn't always have this peace. And when I didn't have this peace, when I found myself, in toxic relationships, I didn't have this peace. I couldn't function that well because my attention was being taken. But when God delivered me and God put me in this environment, when God did all these great things, then I started flourishing. I started realizing who I was. I started realizing all these things. I started to flourish. So the enemy, he understood that about me before I understood that. And it's the same thing when it comes to you. The enemy understands how you're wired. He understands just who you are. So he needs to get you and put you in a demonic environment with a narcissist. So if you get in an environment with a narcissist, you can't function. You can't do much of anything. You know why? Because all of your attention is this. They're either love bombing you. So now you feel the need to give them excessive amounts of time. And when they're not love bombing you, and I thank you, Lord, it was something else I remember. When they're not love bombing you, what they're going to do is they'll be accusing you. They'll be accusing you. So you'll have a great amount of time where what they do, and I'm trying to show you how you're wired in this atmosphere. Okay, growing up, I grew up in a toxic household. Growing up, I didn't understand my wiring. I've never run away from home, but I've gotten away from home plenty of times. And what I mean by that, my parents, when they used to fight like crazy, one of the things that I used to do as a kid was I would escape. I would escape because the environment was too much for me. I couldn't take it. I'd be up in there and I felt like when my family was having episodes and acting crazy, I had to get up out of there. So I get up and go for a walk or what have you. I remember living in this house. We had woods behind our house and I'm shocked. And I was putting myself in danger. I thank God for his protection because I literally used to go hiking off into these woods. This is not woods that have trails. This is not a wooded area that people go through. No, I used to walk my tail in the backyard, go through those woods because I was trying to escape. When I got older, I still was doing the same thing. When I got married, I stopped. Well, when I got older, I did it. I got my first car. I escaped. When I got older, I escaped because the environment, I couldn't function in it. It was taken away. So I started basically spending a lot of time at my friend's house. Their family almost adopted me because I was over their house so much. I started spending a great deal of time over their house because I couldn't function. So when I found myself getting married, that's exactly what I did. Whenever I got married and when things were just too much for me, I'm like, okay, I can't. I'm like, we got to talk about this. But then I was like, okay, I got to go. I got my keys, got in my car, or I would foot it out. I would walk. But I would walk. A lot of times I go for a long walk, right? But the narcissist, what they do is they tame you in an environment because of the way that you're wired. You can't handle a toxic environment. The way that you're wired, what it does is it breaks you. It breaks. This is why you have so many crazy folks out there. Half of the folks in the mental hospitals are prophets and prophetic people. They got broken by narcissists. So because they can't function in a toxic environment. They can't function in a toxic environment. A narcissist, if I was to marry a narcissist, the first thing, this environment is set to peace. The first thing that he would want to do is come into my house and he would try to start changing the temperature. That's the first thing that he do. So it would start off with, hey, babe, I love you. I love you too. And then the next day, what's wrong with you? So you see slowly but surely, but then he'll keep on. He'll come back, babe, I'm so sorry. I wasn't having the best day. I love you. But I'm going to see slowly but surely the peeling away of the mask because what he's going to do is slowly but surely change the temperature in the atmosphere because the temperature has to be set to demonic. This one is set to praise. This temperature is set to praise. So he has to change the temperature to demonic. So he can't do that immediately, right? He has to do that over time. So he's going to start accelerating it, what have you, especially if I say I do to him, he'll start accelerating it and pulling down his mask slowly but surely. What that would do is it would cripple my function. So now I'm not able to function as the gift that I am. I wouldn't be able to write like I'm writing. I wouldn't be able to design like I'm designing. I wouldn't be able to focus or even come live on here. I wouldn't be able to do any of those things as much because my mind would always be, okay, what's wrong with him today? Okay, why he got an attitude today? What did I do wrong? Now I got to try to figure stuff out. Now I got to go up in there and try to talk to him. Then he uses that to spring. Why you always think something wrong? Sometimes folks just be wrong. So now he grabs his keys and leaves. So now I can't function. I can't function. That's what you're dealing with when you're dealing with the narcissist. That's what you're dealing with. So in conclusion to that, I will say, is she a narcissist? I can't say for a fact, but I would put my bet on her being one because she's showing the symptoms and the signs. One, and just to deal with the affair part, narcissists almost always, because it's a demon don't want no one person. I don't know why we be thinking demons are faithful. They don't want one person. Demons want to have power. The more people they have, they are all about quantity. The more people they have, the more power they have. They usurp the authority of all these people. So whenever you're dealing with a demon, they're going to have affairs, period, point blank. But the problem is whenever they want to be with you, whenever a person has a demon and the person doesn't want to let you go, they have to abuse you, tame you, and break you. They got to set the environment. It's demonic. They got to set the environment that way they can control their weather in your home. They can decide whether or not you have a good day or a bad day. They can decide, okay, you did good. You didn't check my phone. You didn't question me. You didn't argue with me. You when you said you were going to the store, you didn't try to make yourself look good at all because I wasn't going to the store with you. So you know what? You went to the store with your hair pulled up and looking like corn cheese. You just sat up there. You didn't put no makeup on. You put on some jogging pants that were like 3 times the size. You put on a dude's shirt. You go out there looking crazy. That makes them feel comfortable. Then you came home real fast and you made sure you cooked the food the way they wanted to. Then they reward you for that. So then they change the temperature in the house to happy. Very good. It's taming. It's taming. They set the atmosphere to happy. And then whenever they decide, okay, I got to go ahead and break you again, then they start to take away from the atmosphere. It's the mechanism of control. It's the way that narcissists work. So going back to the whole thing, why did he feel the need to get up and slap this guy? Because the atmosphere in his home, had he went home, if she's a narcissist, just saying if she's a narcissist, the atmosphere in his home would have been set to dark for quite a bit of time. Because narcissists don't give you one bad day. They don't give you one bad day. They will typically give you, they know how long it takes to break you. They'll give you a week, 3 weeks, 4 weeks of them just straight up being just dry, unloving, uncaring, don't touch me, move, I want to go sleep in the other room. They'll give you 3 to 4 weeks of that. And again, when you're dealing with narcissists, when you're dealing with people with a narcissistic personality disorder, in a moment like that, when the spotlight is on you, you will instinctively know, because you've been tamed. And if you've been tamed for 10 years, 20 years, 15 years, you will instinctively know to give the spotlight back to them. You will instinctively know. I couldn't have done this without my great husband. Now, I can be saying that, but I can know this dude abused me the whole time. The dude that took me through hell. This dude is the reason my anointing is so big, because God has had to increase my anointing to deal with that devil. So I just wanted to say thank you. And to my husband, baby, come up here. Come here. Come up here. I feel like this reward, you have to give them your moment. You have to give them your spotlight. The spotlight has to come back to them. But over the course of time, narcissists are like this. Narcissists, one of their favorite forms of abuse is non-vocal abuse. That's the way I'm going to call it, non-vocal abuse. It's typically, you should know you did something wrong without me telling you. And if you don't know, I'm going to put you on punishment till you figure it out. So it's kind of like coming home and the woman is like, you okay? I'm going to bed. You're being tamed. And the guy comes and says, hey, what's going on? Nothing going on. Can I just go to bed, please? if you're dealing with a prophet or a prophetic man, that right there, it takes away his peace. It takes away his peace. So in that moment, the woman is putting him on punishment. Or if the tables were turned, if I was married to somebody like that, then he would put me on punishment. He's taming me. Over the course of time, it's non-vocal. Something they will communicate vocally if they can make sense of it. But if it's unrealistic and they know it sounds crazy, they will communicate non-vocally. Non-vocal abuse typically looks like a shift in their attitude, just a sudden shift, and you don't know what's wrong. It's a sudden shift in their attitude. You don't know what's wrong. You don't know what you did wrong. You don't know what it's a shift in their attitude. It's left up to you to figure out. And so this is why when you keep asking, can you talk to me? Can you tell me what did I do wrong? They want you to figure it out because it's for them to communicate it to you. It is unrealistic. They can't say what you did wrong. You came home early from work yesterday. I was planning to go see my mistress. That's what you did wrong. They can't say that. So what they have to say, I feel like you don't, they'll just be like, and you start picking up. Okay, I'll give you a perfect example. Before I let you go. Church. A lot of times when you're dealing with a narcissist, they will try to get you out of church. Unless they're in the church and they have a position of power in the church or what have you. But they'll try to get you out of church. They don't typically like church too much. Like I said, unless they're religious Jezebels or what have you, but they'll a lot of times try to get you away from church, especially if you get the spotlight and they don't. And a lot of times what they'll do is the way that they get you away from church, and it's going to bless your life. Because some of y'all, you're a victim to this. What they do, and I've said this before on this channel, what they'll do is all of a sudden, like they'll let you go to church by yourself. You be like, babe, you coming to church with me? Please, come on. Come on, baby. I'm always going to church by myself. Please. No. So they're gonna complain about your church. They're gonna complain about your pastor. They're gonna say they don't like him. He gonna say they don't like me. They're gonna complain about it. They're gonna complain about your friends. They're gonna complain about all this stuff because they have to isolate you. In that, let's say I get up and go to church, because what he's really wanting me to do is not go to church, period, point blank. He doesn't want me to go to church anymore. Narcissists don't want you to have anybody that is pouring into you, anybody that can help you, anybody that can empower you. They don't want that. So in that, if I'm sitting there and I'm going to church and he doesn't want me to go, then realistically, he can't sit there and say, I don't want you going to church. So he may say, I don't want you going to that church. Thank you, Sister April. God bless you. He may say, I don't want you going to that church or what have you. But while I'm getting dressed, he's going to have a slight attitude. Well, if I continue and I keep getting dressed to go to church, if we got one car, he'll say, I'll drop you off. Then he may not pick me up in time. Or if I insist, no, I'm going to get the car. So let's just say we got two cars. Perfect example. I get up and go to church anyhow. What he's going to do is once he leaves out of the church, once I go to church, he's going to leave. He's going to leave the house because now I'm on punishment. This narcissist specializes in punishing you. Punishment is taming. It's training. This is training grounds. You're being trained to relinquish all of your authority, because see, you still doing what they don't want you to do, which means you still are maintaining or retaining some of your authority, and they don't like that. So if I go to church, when I come home, he's gone. I call him. Let's say I'm calling him on the way home from church. Typically Black family, you're coming home from church. What do? You're about to go to stop by a restaurant. What have you? You want to go KFC or somewhere? Not KFC, but just you want to go somewhere. So you call him up his favorite restaurant. You call him to say, hey, baby, you want me to stop by Popeyes? You want me to stop by here to grab something to eat? He's not going to answer his phone. I'm telling you how it works. He's not going to answer his phone. Or if he answers it, he said, no, I'm not at home. I'm with the boys or something like that. But he's not going to answer his phone. If he really want to punish you, he'll hit the hang up button on you, or he'll turn his phone off. So that's going to lead to torment. Thank you. Plenty of grace. God bless you. That's going to lead to torment. Once he gets home, once you get home, you're going to find his car is not in the driveway. Why is his car not in the driveway? When you get in the house, you're going to find that he's gone. You're also going to notice that cologne is out, different things. It's reactive abuse. It is to torment you. It is to give the insinuation that he's out cheating on you or what have you. So you calling his phone. He's not answering his phone. 2 hours later, he call you back. Hey, Hey, where you at? I called you. I'm out with a billionaire. Why do you didn't want to come to church? No, I didn't want to come to church. I ain't got to go to church with you. I want to go. I called you while you didn't answer your phone. Oh man, I left my phone in the car. Okay, that seems like an isolated incident. But next Sunday, something similar is going to happen. He's not going to want to come to church with you. And next Sunday, you're going to come home, and either he's going to be there, he's going to treat you real bad, or he's going to be gone. What that does is it torments you to the point where you begin to not want to go to church. See, I'm talking to somebody on here because you're living in that right now. You're not going to want to go to church because Sundays are now turning into a nightmare. It's like a bipolar day. You have a high day at church, everything is good, and then you come home to a low day. Then you can't even have a high day at church anymore because now you're living in anticipation. You ever had the anticipation of the butt whooping? It was worse. It was worse than the butt whooping itself. So now you're living in anticipation. While you're at church, you're trying to praise, but you already know he gonna be gone when I get home. He gonna torment me. We're gonna get into an argument. He probably gonna leave all night again. It's gonna be a hot mess. So after a while, slowly but surely, let's say you miss one day at church. You just don't go this time. You don't go to church. He's gonna reward you for not going. It's a part of the taming process. He's gonna reward you. He's gonna be like, wake you up. Ain't you gonna go to church? I ain't going to church today. You ain't going to church. No. You sure? No. All right, I'm about to go up here and cook some breakfast. He gonna make love to you like you ain't ever had made love to you. He gonna go up in there and cook breakfast. You're being rewarded. So after a while, you're gonna start realizing that if I stay home, we'll have a good Sunday. But if I go to church, I have hell to pay. So then what you start doing, and I'm talking to some of y'all, you start looking for errors in the church. Because you got to find a justification to get up out of there. See, you're trying to look for an exit. You're looking for an exit. Because you don't want to just come up out of there. You done got prophetic words, you done got all that. You done got all this good. You don't want to just walk up out of there. So now you start looking for exits. Oh, they got this girl that's over the praise team. She treats me like crap. And I hadn't talked to them about it before. Nobody's saying anything. Or I'm tired of this. I'm tired of that. It's little small things. But you would use that. And then you're going to come home and you're going to give it to him as an offering. Baby, I ain't going back there no more. And then what he's going to do? Reward you. You go back to being rewarded. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. I'm sorry. You want to go put on some clothes. All right. You want to go out to eat? Oh, really? Yeah. Where we going? And he going to name your favorite restaurant. Today, we're going to make today all about you. Yay! Because what a narcissist, what Jezebel does is usurp your authority, usurp your power. They take everything and they give you a snippet. They give you an allowance of your money. They give you an allowance of your time. They give you an allowance of your joy. Everything that belongs, that God gave to you, they steal it from you. Satan comes to steal, kill, and destroy. They steal it from you, and then they give you a tenth of it back. They give you a piece of it back whenever you make them happy. They give you a piece of it back whenever you make them happy. They give you a piece of it back whenever you make them proud. They give you a piece of it back whenever you make them feel good. But whenever you have that moment, and I'm going to say this and I'm going to get ready to close. Whenever you have that moment, that, because they hate this. They hate this real bad. I've drawn this out before, but it's necessary for me to do it again. Do me a favor. If you have not liked it, this is blessing you, like and share. Okay. A standard relationship, normal, healthy, godly relationship looks, I wish I could draw it like this. Okay, I can't. All right, it looks like this. It's a straight line. Then there's a slight incline. And then there's a straight line. And then there's a slight incline. It's a straight line. It's so, even an incline is so, you see, you don't even realize you're ascending. This is a standard relationship. This is a standard, and then there's a few dips in it or what have you. When you're dealing with a narcissistic relationship, which is actually normalized in America, which is what common. A narcissistic relationship looks like this. Oh, sorry. This is cloud 9. Narcissistic relationship depends on serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, adrenaline. So what happens is when a person first gets you, they got to accelerate the soul tie. I'm in love with you. I can't stop thinking about you. What are you doing to me? I want you to have all my babies. There's something about you. I knew you were the one. It's a whole lot of gaslighting. It's a whole lot of love bombing in the beginning, not gaslighting, but love bombing in the beginning. It gets you excited. It also gets you addicted because the human psyche cannot handle this. The human psyche cannot handle this. This right here, you get addicted to that. Thank you, Sister Yvette. God bless you. You get addicted to that. But what they do is once you get addicted and once they have you hooked, soul tied, panties and all bunched around your head, once they get you, then there's a dip. The dip is the punishment. It's the test to see how much power they have over you. So the dip is typically them. They may not call you. They may not call you back. You're not getting a good morning text, or they got a bad attitude, or what have you. The design of the dip is to get you to, is to see how much power they have over you. If you're like, baby, what did I do wrong? Baby, what did I do wrong? And then you come and you try to prove yourself and what have you. Then a lot of times what's going to happen is you're going to notice another incline. Then there are going to be dips. This right here, it looks like a heart monitor. This is you'll have spikes. This is how a narcissistic relationship looks. This is how a healthy relationship looks. A healthy relationship, there's stability. The healthy relationship, you ascend as you are together. You become one. You merge over the course of time. You grow together. Narcissistic relationship is like this right here. Anytime you go down here, it causes a panic. Anytime you go down here, it causes a panic. It causes you to get frustrated or what have you. Now you are a serotonin head, an oxytocin head, a dopamine head, an adrenaline head. You need that cloud 9. You need that feeling. You need that affirmation. You need all of those things. So you're always trying to do everything that you can to hold on to that person. Even if, right, it does. It causes PTSD. Even if holding on to that person is getting out their way, which is what we see Will did. If the person sit back and they're like, I don't know if I want to be married. I kind of want to see other people. Once they tame you, if you allow yourself to be broken, then they're going to go see other people. And if you question them, they're going to say what Jada said. I wasn't happy. Meaning it's all about me and my feelings, and you weren't doing your job as a man. So I needed another guy to make me happy. And at the same time, I'm a hero because I was helping him to heal. He was broken. He was a hot mess. Did you see him before? I was helping him to heal. That's what narcissism looks like. Hopefully, in listening to this, you come to realize if you are a prophet or a prophetic person. Because if you are, then I'm going to just give you this before I close. Because this ain't about me. This ain't about Will and Jada, even though we're talking about. I want you to understand in this, if you're a prophet or a prophetic person, that Jezebel is after you. And those numbers talking about 5% being narcissists, 5% of that, I call that a lie. There are 5% diagnosed narcissists. But I'm going to tell you, that is a thing that's over America right now. Did I get a chance to read this article? Let me see if this is the article that I wanted to read. I think I'm going to leave it alone. Oh, it was a part in here I wanted to read. Okay. There was another thing that made me say, okay, I think this lady's a narcissist. And like I said, when you're with them, they'll have children with you. Your children with a narcissist is that they become remote controls to control you. Everything you have with a narcissist. Wait a second. Okay, so I'll tell you what this article. I want to read this part. I'll show it to you, and then I'm gonna read it, and then I'm gonna make sure I give credit to whoever it belongs to. The most disgusting display of ego behind their brief separation. After a relatively quiet decade and a half, making movies and raising their children, things started to unravel in 2011. For Pinkett Smith's 40th birthday party, Smith, meaning Will, Smith threw a 3-day extravaganza that took place in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It reportedly took him 3 years to plan, with Smith even creating a documentary about his wife's family and hiring Mary J. Blige to perform after a dinner, which included a 20-foot-long archway adorned with photos of Pinkett Smith. However, Pinkett Smith wasn't keen on the party, saying it was the most disgusting display of ego I have ever seen in my life, and demanded he cancel the rest of the weekend. After the argument, Smith said he told his wife, I retire. I retire from trying to make you happy. I quit. You go do you, and I'm going to go do me. While the couple said they didn't want a divorce, Smith said they needed time to separate. He took 3 years, allegedly. Okay, let me see. I got to give the credit. Evening Standard. This comes from Evening Standard. Articles entitled Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith's Unconventional Modern Love Story. He took 3 years to plan something out, and she made him counsel it. And he said, I'm going to go do me, and you go do you. That is music to the narcissist's ears. It means I have broken you. Now I have the ability to go do what I want. And once I go do what I want, it is what it is. I don't have to worry about you leaving me, because they don't want to be left, honestly. They want the power to discard you. They do not like being discarded. They want the power to discard you. They will break you. And then once they break you, if you don't ask for a divorce, if you just sit up there and say, hey, go do you. Like, for real. Go out there. You want to see other people. You whatever you want to do, just go do you. And once they are assured that you're going to be there and they can go do themselves, then they'll pull the stunt that she pulled. They'll pull that stunt, whereas they can go out there, do their bit, and what have you, and then whatever the crap hit the fan, they can point the finger back to you and say, you broke it up with me. You broke up with me. You didn't want nothing to do with me. Yeah, because you were abusing me, because you were taking me through hell. I'm over here trying to please you. I'm over here trying to do all of these wonderful things, and you are giving me a living hell. So yes, I broke it up, or I said I didn't want to be with you anymore. But they utilize that in order to do what they want to do. They utilize that. I literally have 1,000 scenarios in my head. Yeah, but they utilize that to go out there and do whatever it is that they want to do, and then they come back, and this is reactive abuse. So in this, you hear her saying, you didn't want me anymore. He's like, yeah, I was done with your A. But look at what he's doing. If he's saying, hey, I'm doing these parties, I'm doing all these great and grand gestures and stuff like that, and I'm still being like, I can't please you, of course the person's going to have that moment where they realize that you really want to be left alone. And when you finally say those words to a narcissist, do you, and they know they've broken you, they smile. Right. They know who to come after. They come after prophets and prophetic people. They come after prophets and prophetic people. That's their thing. That's their assignment. They come after prophets and prophetic people, which is why you have to be very mindful and really prayerful of what you align yourself with, or who you marry. Because I always say this: the devil's favorite outfit is a pretty man or a pretty woman. That's his favorite outfit to wear. Demons love to get in beautiful people. They get in all people, but they love, because beautiful people are their favorite outfits to wear. Because one of the things I say, and this is one of the things I've seen in counseling, and me having to counsel all these couples or what have you, anytime you have a narcissistic spouse, I've seen this 1,000 times, especially you have a narcissistic spouse who knows that they're good looking, knows they can have whoever they want, and they feel like you are inferior to them. They feel like you're lucky to have them. I've seen this 1,000 times. What that demon will do with that spouse, it never fails. That demon holds that spouse over your head just like this. You got to jump. You got to submit. The demon, it becomes a circus. You got to jump for treats. If you want to sleep with your wife, you're going to have to do this. If you want to do, you got to go through all of these different, you got to jump up high. You got to come down low. You're going to have to do a whole lot of stuff. And whenever you please the demon will bring the spouse back down. And you'll have access to your spouse for a while, but it'll keep holding that person over your head. Now, if you start having children with a narcissist, you start mixing your finances and you start mixing all that stuff with the narcissist, listen, they will completely torture you because it's too difficult for you to separate yourself from them. They will completely and utterly torture you. They'll start talking about division of assets. Dude, you didn't even come in here with nothing. What are you talking about division? They start talking about, I want custody of the children, joint custody. And you know that this is a narcissist. This is a broken person. This is a monster of a person. And so it's torment. The thought of him having even joint custody, even visitation rights with your kids can be relative torment because you know that what he's saying is that I'm going to hurt these children. So if you want to be with me, like if you want to make sure that your children are in a safe space, that's what demons do. If you want to make sure your children are in a safe space where you can watch and you can monitor, you better not leave. You better let me do what I want to do. You better let me go where I want to go. You better not say anything. So this is why a lot of times whenever a person breaks up with the narcissist goes for full custody of the child, or the narcissist will go for joint custody. But if they get full custody or joint custody, they typically don't want the children. They will pass the children over to a parent. They will pass the children over to a sibling, or they'll go get in a relationship and with another person, and then they'll have that other person watching the children as a torment, as a lesson to you, as a punishment to you. And typically they're going to go probably get somebody that doesn't care too much for your kids as a punishment to you. And what that is, again, reactive abuse, because now you start feeling like, I don't want my child in that environment or what have you. They start controlling you from there. Well, if you had left, so that's why, I got custody of this child. They will put your child in an environment, and then what they'll do is cast you as the monster, because typically you're going to have an emotional display. You're probably going to text them. You're going to say stuff that you're going to try to withhold their children from them. They will utilize all of those things to either get joint custody or full custody and try to limit your rights with the child, with your children. Can you please do a video of godly parenting and children and parent relationship? Yeah, most definitely. It's rough in the streets, right? But you know what? That's why you have to stay inside the will of God. You got to stay inside the will of God. So that's my take on it, guys. And I'm going to let y'all go because I didn't plan on this being really long. My take on it is, yes, I believe she's a narcissist. I got to say that allegedly, but I definitely, looking at the evidence, looking at him even going to that point where he says, hey, listen, I retired from trying to please you. I retired from that. That's typically a narcissist, because there's no way to satisfy the devil. There's no way, because you're dealing with an unclean spirit. And then at the fact, again, because she plays with witchcraft, you can see that on her page. She is into witchcraft. She's into a lot of ungodly things. These are the signs that she's not only a narcissist, but she may even have a reprobate mind, meaning there's no turning back unless that person truly repents. But the Bible says Jezebel, God says, I gave her space to repent, but she would not. How to deal with controlling narcissistic parents and siblings. Separate yourself from them. I'm going to say that. I'm going to answer that. Then I'm going to let you go. There's a spectrum. I talk about it in the book that I got coming out called Relational Intelligence. And what I talk about in there, I'll show you this. And I'm giving you, I shouldn't be doing this because this is going to be in the book. All right. But I'll do it here. It's an ugly circle. Now, you know what? I'm going to do something prettier because it's going to mess up the visual. Give me a second. All right. I'll just use this piece of paper here because it's already. See if I can draw a better circle. This circle's still a hot mess. It is what it is, guys. Okay. All right. So here, this is you. This is you. This is your heart. The Bible tells you to guard your heart, for out of it pours the issues of life. This is your intellectual space. This is your intimate space. A narcissist wants to get into your intimate space. Obviously, narcissistic parents are going to be into your intimate space. So they have to come out of your intimate space, even though you're. So first and foremost, you got to say what Jesus said: "Who are my mother and my brothers? Those who do the will of God." So you have to push them out of your intimate space. So it starts off with you setting boundaries and rules. Make a personal constitution. In that constitution, you say, "Hey, nobody can cuss me out. Nobody can try to control me. Nobody can put me on punishment. These are the rules." So you have to write it out. Write the vision and make it plain. You have to publish it. You got to sit there and and then the next point is you have to solidify those rules. That means you have to solidify it in your heart. Like, this is the penalty. If somebody does this, this is what's going to happen. But you put the rules, you publish them. You let that parent know. The parent's going to violate them. They're a narcissist. They're going to violate them. Then you push them out of your intimate space. So you push them out a little bit further. Or what have you. That means I limit my conversations. I limit my visitations. I limit their visitations. When they come, they cannot go intimately into my home. They have to sit in the living room. So I'm publishing and I'm making sure I'm communicating. I'm not yelling at them. I'm not giving in to them yelling at me. I'm publishing my my views, my boundaries with them or what have you. If they don't respect them, I push them further out into the intellectual space, which means I'm probably not going to talk to them months at a time. Now, I'm not putting on punishment because this is permanent. This is permanent. But I'm putting them out into out into that space there, because what I'm doing is I'm trying to give them access to me that they can handle. They can't handle intimate access. But so I'm trying to give them more intellectual access. That means I talk to you every now and then. Oh, yeah, everything's good. Yeah, I've been going to church and I've been this and I've been that. Okay, well, that's good. I bless God for you. Well, that's good. After a while, it's going to be just holidays. They can't see my children. I'm not bringing my children around. Whenever they do talk to my children, they're going to be right here. It's on speakerphone because they don't need to say nothing crazy. They're not babysitting my children or what have you. So I pushed them out into that particular space. And then from there, if they can't handle, and I got 5 circles in the book, but excuse me, if they can't handle access out here, if they can't handle, excuse me, it's time for me to get some water. But if they can't handle access out there, then what has to happen is I go no contact. Thank you, Sister Bonita. God bless you. Then I go no contact. So I'm giving them an opportunity. Like God said, I gave a space to repent. I'm giving them an opportunity, but I can't have them close because they keep breaking my heart. God told me to guard that. So they keep breaking my heart. They keep disappointing me. So what I have to do is I got to push them just a little bit away, set the boundaries. I communicate those boundaries and I let them know these are non-negotiables. And I solidify. Solidify means that when I enforce them, they have to be hard boundaries, meaning I can't have any give in them, because if you give the devil an inch, what did they say? He'll take a mile. So they have to be. So my penalty is I'm not going to talk to this person as much. These are the penalties. So every time I'm going to keep pushing them out. I'm going to keep pushing them out the boundaries and what have you. The last step is no contact. Last step is going to be after I only talk to them on holidays or what have you, is no contact. That I have to push them out. It's their job, their responsibility. If they want to start coming back, I don't take them back from row 5 and bring them back into my intimate space, because they got to get healed and delivered. See, behavior doesn't change demons. Anytime a person changes or they start displaying different behavior, even though they haven't gone through deliverance, it's manipulation. So they just want to get back close. So I'm going to still keep them at a distance, at a healthy distance. But if they come back and they say, hey, I apologize, or what have you, I'm still going to have them at a healthy distance, but I'm not going to necessarily bring them up close and personal. But they can elevate from row 5 to row 4 again. Maybe they can get back into level 3 again if they learn to control their demons. If they learn to control their demons to get some if they learn to control their demons and get some self-control. All right, I hope this helped you guys. I love you guys. That was my take on it. Just make sure we're praying for them. Make sure that we are covering them in prayer and praying for their deliverance. But my prayer is that you guys got something from this, that you understand your wiring, how you are made, and just who you are in Christ Jesus, and why you may have dealt with some of the stuff you dealt with in your life, why you dealt with narcissistic people. And understand this is an unclean spirit. It ain't going to stop. It ain't going to stop. You're going to keep on trying to come after you. You divorce a narcissist, then that demon going to be in somebody else. That's why you have a type. A type is nothing but a familiar spirit. It'll keep coming after you until you divorce that demon. You can't divorce a person without divorcing a demon. Love y'all. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.